Dr. Paul Savage, we have a national and international audience, and they're listening, and some of them are thinking, too good to be true. I noticed that the quickest way to get people's attention is they have a skin condition. And sometimes they don't quite understand because they want to rub something off it and clean it up.
Right.
But beauty starts from within, doesn't it? Acne, skin conditions, cysts. Yeah. Would you agree? I mean, tell me about your experience with skin conditions, and if you do.
There is, I can tell. That's a great question because I played this game not even a month ago. I went to a major board in Chicago to their invited to their CEO board meeting, and sat in front of them presenting about, of all things, inflammation. Okay. And it's interesting that so many people are like, "Well, what's inflammation? I haven't heard about that." And it just strikes me as odd because they really haven't heard about this. But then what I did was I took my turn and looked around the room, and simply by looking at their faces, I could see who were the ones that were having more problems with their inflammatory system, to the point where I would pick one gentleman out, and he was 28, and I said, "You're very healthy," and he was. And I picked the 64-year-old. He had to be the oldest guy in the group. He also was very healthy, and he was. You know, I said, "What's your blood pressure?" 110/70. Are you on any meds? No. Then I looked at the one guy who was a CFO, who's obviously not healthy, and I said, "How many heart meds are you on?" And he goes, 4. Wow. I said, "How bad's your blood pressure?" And he, and how bad's your cholesterol? And he goes, "How do you know this?" I said, "Because it's written all over your face." Literally written all over his face.
Wow.
With the puffiness and the redness and the rosacea and all these skin problems. You don't have to understand, you don't have to be a genius to understand that when the face gets inflamed or it breaks out or it gets, you have an abnormal process, and that abnormal process has to include inflammation. You're going to win the game every time.
Yeah. So it's interesting that certain interventions, certain supplements will help clear up the skin fairly quickly to a degree, but it's also a sign that the underlying lifestyle needs to be corrected as well.
Well, the underlying lifestyle, and patients are presenting ill, always needs to be improved.
Yeah. I remember being in front of an audience of 1,000 people, and we brought my microscope on stage. We had the lipid cholestic machine on stage, and I asked the audience, who here is the healthiest person in this room? Several hands went up, and I looked around, and I didn't take much time, but I said, okay, you, come on up here. And then I said, who's the unhealthiest? Who considers themselves absolutely unhealthy? And hands went up.
Yeah, sure.
And you look at them and you say, yeah, you, come up. And then we put their blood up on the TV screen, we did the cholestic machine, and then we asked each person, tell me your lifestyle, tell me what you eat, tell me how you exercise. And each person to a person, their blood tests, and their story matched their condition.
Absolutely. I mean, and to your point, you don't have to just do the blood test.
But they had to see it. The audience needed to see it, right?
As a clinician, you can look at people's face, and it's a terrible game we play as physicians. Yeah. When we walk down the street and go, heart disease, cancer waiting to happen, stroke coming,
thyroid deficiency, testosterone deficiency.
You walk down the street and you'll see these people like osteoporosis, and you know that the underlying thing here is to a significant amount caused by lifestyle. Yes. And the painful part is that they could turn these things around at any age. Yes. With changes in their lifestyle.
Yeah. Dr. Paul Savage, it's sometimes a source of frustration. You just went down it perfectly, as if you walk down the streets of New York, LA, Oregon. It doesn't matter where you go within the Western world, but then you go down the street of other cultures. Certain Asian cultures.
Much less.
I mean, you see a lot.
Because we both travel internationally quite a bit. I just got back from Vietnam, and you walk through that population, and you're like, this is a really healthy population. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, they're on their bikes a lot. They're walking down the street. It was
Vietnamese pho soup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, a lot of vegetables, very little oil, less oil use in their culture of cooking and food preparation. And it's interesting because when we do
if they use the oils, they use the better oils. So
yes. And when we do our live center, live-in center, which is only for a select few people, we go out to restaurants.
I was one of those.
we go out to restaurants because we want to prove that, look, it doesn't have to be this
you can eat
closed,
well. You
right?
can eat well. You can go out to any restaurant and eat well.
Yes, and there's probably certain cuisines that are a little easier to order out.
I didn't say there's not cuisines easier to order with, but you and I have gone out to dinner a number of different times, and you have to ask the waiter, I want this, I want these vegetables grilled, I want, and restaurants, I've never had a problem with them accommodating my wishes. And even with them with large groups of people, we go to steakhouses.
I was just going to say, I don't know, you were reading my mind.
We go to steakhouses.
You go to a steakhouse.
We do.
And everybody was thinking, wait a minute, steakhouse? What are you talking about, Delgado, right? And what do you order? You look at the side dishes, the side possibilities. Asparagus, oh, that's great. Oh, a good baked potato, but you know, maybe yam, sweet potato. Broccoli, right?
There's spinach, there's salads, there's plenty of stuff, and I'm not opposed to people having some portion of beef. But some, I'm a little.
They don't need it, but to be sociable or whatever.
I have no problem with some flank, or some flank or some fillet. But you know, I do give them a little bit of a stare down when they go for the prime rib in the porterhouse.
And then the dessert.
And I give them a little bit of a lot. And we don't allow the bread on the table because we don't find the need for it. But I have no problem in these restaurants when I order a plate full of grilled vegetables, and I find that thoroughly enjoyable. And I know it's interesting because a lot of your listeners may be like, that's boring, but it's actually a lot of fun.
Oh, it is.
It's actually.
I've had steakhouses a little shocked of, you know, let's see, what do you want? And then they'll come out with this beautiful plate. And then the other people are leaning forward and they're looking at this chunk of steak, you know, and then a few little vegetables, and they're looking at my massive, incredible, beautiful dish.
Colorful and grilled, and a little herb on it, and a little,
right?
It's something often.
And oftentimes, you know, Dr. Paul Savage, it's sometimes in the sauces. You know, I think I remember from my big, heavy meat-eating days when I ballooned up, and I have my story over 200.
Absolutely.
But it's the sauces.
It's the sauces.
I'll use a little steak sauce.
And when I said a little,
you know,
but when I said a little bit of beef every once in a while, but I get concerned about the sauces.
Well, there are addictions, right? We know that there's a chemical reaction, and those who can't control themselves, they need a cleaning period, right?
I will say that the majority of people have a predisposition to addictions. It's just how much you feed it, and you know, there's a genetic. Certain people are more sensitive than others, but it's not like those don't go away. They do. I mean, they can absolutely, completely go away. I know I had many addictions that I get cravings for. They don't occur anymore.
I remember you once asked me, rate different blenders, and we went through the Vitamix, and there was a German one at the...
There was a Krub.
Yeah, that's it.
No, I still have it on the head, Krubs and the Vitamix, and there was one other one.
Well, the low end was Hamilton Beach, but it was $39, and I thought
you can blow that up, and who cares, right?
And I shipped it in broken, and they sent it back a brand new one. It was within the year period. I'm like, so? You know, they replaced it. So
I don't have a Vitamix. I just have a very good blender, and I think I've had that blender for years now. And as your audience, as I may have said, you know, I still do my blended drink every day. And when we're talking, because we're here at this convention, I didn't do my blended drink today, and my lips are dry. And I know when I don't
hydration.
But it's hydration through the vegetable drink.
Good nutrition.
It's getting that, because I can drink enough water today, I still can't get the moisture that I get from eating the whole vegetables.